And we're live, guys. Welcome to the first 4:30 CTZ live video podcast. We've got Daniel Hagen, we've got John Wrong, and Kim Crable. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't have said our real names. We're trying to incriminate anybody with what they say on this podcast. So those are not real names. I'm your host, Daniel Dennett. I'm an expert on consciousness. Okay. All right. Well, it's great to be here and see all of you guys. This podcast is going to be about science and spirituality, so that's pretty broad. So feel free to chime in, and look forward to hearing what you guys have to say.
I guess this will technically be mountain time. Today we're a little bit late.
Oh, right. Yes, we're behind schedule, but the audience, we don't have to worry about that. We don't have an audience right now. We've got 0 viewers, but I'm sure we'll be able to build our viewer base up over the coming weeks. So.
Are we gonna be famous?
God willing.
All right, guys. No pressure. This is just like a conversation. This is just like a conversation. So, don't need to worry about legions of fans breaking down your door just yet.
Just yet.
Well, who wants to start off with the topic?
I'll go ahead and start us off. So, I had an interesting experience. Have you guys heard of this new trend? It's called flotation tanks.
I think I have. Are they the same as like sensory deprivation tanks?
Yes,
That would probably be it, yes.
It's the same word, but it's just kind of using. I guess sensory deprivation sounds a little bit scary, and so they kind of like rebranded it as float tanks to be more inviting to the public.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they're pretty cool. I don't know exactly all the specs, like what some of the features are, but I know that
they're pretty high tech. You're probably going to be impressed.
Yeah.
So for anybody who doesn't know what a float tank is, it is a controlled environment, and the idea is to remove all of the external stimulus from the brain. And so what that amounts to being is the one that I went to was a float room. So it was bigger than a traditional float tank. It was probably about the size of like a king size mattress, but it was this room that you walk into, and the facility was set up like a spa. But anyways, what it is, it's like about 10 inches of water, and it's it's heated to skin temperature, and also the air is heated to skin temperature. And they've dumped like 2,000 pounds of Epsom salt in the water, so that basically you float effortlessly in this tank. So it's a pretty cool experience. There's no light, there's no sound, and you're floating in this water, and you can't feel the water because it's the same temperature as your skin, and you can't feel the air. So it's like basically you're just a point in space, just consciousness. So it's a really cool experience.
So if I'm not mistaken, I think my wife was saying that it can actually like help or cause you hallucinate.
So, well, yeah, I mean that's right. And so like in the 70s, this was kind of like a fad, and most people did it for spiritual exploration, I guess you could say. And so nowadays they're finding out that it has all these benefits for stress, anxiety, depression. Athletes are using it to cut their recovery time in half, and so they're finding out there's all these other benefits. But yes, that was like the initial popularization of it was if you stay in there long enough, you go into that state that's between being awake and being asleep. You guys familiar with that state? So you might get little flashes of like stuff you've seen during the day, or even like weirder images. But yeah, that's true. I did not experience any hallucinations. I wasn't in there long enough, and oddly as it sounds, you kind of have to learn how to float. So, like about halfway through the beginning of it, I was in there for about 90 minutes, and I just was feeling very restless, and I couldn't really relax. Like I didn't know what to do with my arms. And then once I once I got my arms comfortable, my neck was all uncomfortable. And then about halfway through, I relaxed into it, and yeah, I did kind of start going into that between sleep, between wake state. But also, it's a lot like meditation, but it's a lot. I guess it kind of makes meditation easy. So I've always found meditation to be one of the most difficult things, and this kind of seemed to cut out all the distractions.
Where did you go to experience this?
There's a place called Zero Gravity here in Austin, and it's basically just like kind of like a spa, and it's pretty chill.
So do they offer like other packages too, like normal massage and then the other stuff, or is it just specifically the float tanks?
No, it was just the float tanks. But they had a massage chair set up, so you would sit in the massage chair for like 15 minutes before your float. And they had like this star projector on the wall, so it was kind of trippy. And but no, it was just floats.
Like, and I was thinking, like, about taking that emotive headset with you into a float.
Ooh.
And also...
Okay. Well, for people who don't know what that is, can we tell them what that is?
Yes, please. Please.
I mean, yeah, it's a headset that monitors your brain waves.
EEG.
So your brain is giving off electrical signals, and we can put electrodes on the brain in different places, and you can tell
to detect the strength of the
right.
Electric field. Yep. I was thinking, like, so if you could kind of calm all your brain activity down, and then maybe you could, like with magnetic stimulation, like kind of easier, like have an easier time, like inducing some kind of experience, like to somebody who's in a float tank and their brain is just, it's totally open to the next thing that's going to go through it,
Well, I mean, I think there's like a huge potential for research, because float tanks have not really been studied that much.
Yeah.
And so if we start to study them scientifically, we can find out, yeah, there's all these benefits, and then, we can start to learn more about the mind-brain-body connection.
Yeah.
What are some of the benefits that you've heard?
Benefits that I've heard are stress reduction, better sleep, probably anxiety, depression, and then athletes are also using this for like recovery. So like after a really hard workout, you get in the float tank, and it supposedly cuts your recovery time down quite a bit. But one. So, yeah, go ahead.
You should tell them about its inventor, John Lilly.
Okay. So, one metaphor that, like, So I'm a person. I'm always interested in like exploring what's out there. You know, what is consciousness? What is our brain? And what's at the edges? And how can we push the edges? But
Mm. Should
so
consciousness be added to our title or our list of ideas?
definitely, definitely. So one way to think about the float tank is like your body is constantly developing a tolerance to reality. And so, even when you're asleep, you're still experiencing gravity and you're still experiencing these other forces. So, it's kind of like letting your body take a break from reality. And so, people say after they've done floating for a while, they'll say, "Oh, when I get out of the float tank, the colors seem brighter." Or, just like it kind of enhances their sense of day-to-day well-being. And then there's like the hippie, the real out there hippies who are like, yeah, man, I saw, you know, aliens and Bigfoot and that kind of stuff.
Maybe people have just really never even stopped to just think for an hour and a half in their life at one solid sitting. And so, I mean, we're so distracted in our day-to-day lives, like, Jesus, like...
And people are like needing interaction now, I would say. I mean, not particularly this group of people, I feel like, because I feel like we're all fairly introverted, but I mean, just Facebook and the social networks that people are on, I mean, they can't not post, They need that feedback constantly. I mean, people will post when they're watching a Disney movie that they've seen 100 times just so that someone can say, "Oh yeah, that movie's the best" or whatever, It's like that's stupid, like I mean, sometimes it's funny, but it just seems like they don't have these kind of conversations necessarily a lot of times.
It's easier to be distracted than it is to try and solve all of your problems.
I
think you're right.
Sorry, I was gonna say I think you're right on the stressing because I want to say that Anna's boss goes there every once in a while and does this, and she's like the head person in HR for like publicly traded oil and gas company. So her job is filled with stress. She can't sleep well. She has tons of allergic reactions to different medications and stuff. So I think she's been doing it recently, is how I heard about it actually, and apparently it does help. I mean, it makes sense because so many times like you really can't get out of your own head that way. I mean, you're just so stuck in the pattern of life. Wake up, go to work, find out what new stress lies there, go to bed, and then try to go to bed. I mean, that's a hard thing for a lot of people, and maybe this helps with that too.
For sure.
I think so. Little bit of background about the float tank. So there was this scientist in the 50s, and he was wanting to figure out, if we remove all the stimulation from the brain, will the brain just go to sleep, or will it sort of start running on its own biorhythm, I guess, like a dream? And so, he tried just laying in a bed, but obviously that is not, you're not removing yourself enough to figure that out. And so through his experiments, he proved that yes, the brain will just continue to sort of, eventually create its own fantasies. And there's like movies and stuff that are like, kind of exploring the funny side of that, like the scientist that goes crazy or whatever. But
I'm looking at the Wikipedia page. It looked like Richard Feynman got invited to try Lily's tank. Did you read what he said about it?
So, John Lilly was in California, and he was studying dolphins, and he actually was the guy who, he was trying to communicate with dolphins and cetaceans, the whales, because they are the only other animals, that have brains of a similar type and intelligence to us, besides the primates. And so the other part of it was that he felt like he could better understand what it would be like to be a dolphin or a whale if he was in this zero gravity environment. But John, as you were saying, Richard Feynman, everybody knows he's one of the greatest physicists of the 20th century, one of the greatest American physicists. And he would hang out with the Lillys, and John Lilly was always, this is like the late 50s, early 60s, so John Lilly would try to get people to try LSD. And Richard Feynman would never try LSD because he was too afraid that it might interfere with his mind. But he tried the float tank because he felt he might get a similar experience to what it might be like to be on drugs without having to take any drugs. And just an anecdote from that, I think he said it was difficult for him, but I think he ended up like eating a marijuana cookie or something, and then he was able to experience it. I don't know.
Marijuana cookie.
Weird.
Yeah, I mean, imagine like you're saying, people have different tolerances to the float tank. I mean, if you're like already like pretty chill, you might just step in, and 20 minutes in, you're kind of like, oh, this is good.
Yeah, just like hypnosis, where some people are more susceptible.
Yeah.
It could be for me, like I said, it took about 45 minutes to relax. Like at first, I felt pretty restless, and then like after I got out, I felt like I had a lot of extra energy. So I don't know exactly what that means, but I think that's pretty common for people. And they say it takes probably about three floats to kind of get the hang of it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
How did you? Sorry, my right knee hurts sometimes. Like from playing tennis so much. It may not be something that you've ever experienced, but I figure if you're like laying there and you're naturally buoyant, then your joints probably feel pretty good when you come out. Did you notice any of that, Duncan?
So what? Yeah, I think there might be something to that. Like what I experienced was like there was all these muscle tension patterns in my body that I'm not aware of. So like maybe I like hold my shoulder like in a specific way, and I just do that unconsciously. So like the first 30 minutes was just like me laying there, and then this muscle relax, this muscle relax, this muscle relax, because our bodies are built in such a way that like all the muscles are connected into this one system, and so to relax, it's that's kind of the same as relaxing everything, and then you figure out what you were doing without even being aware of it.
Cool.
Well, Richard Feynman makes me think of another topic I have written down, which is lucid dreaming.
Ooh, excellent.
So I'm trying to get started on my own lucid dreaming quests.
Does everybody know what that is?
Yeah.
So it's being aware that you're dreaming while you're dreaming.
So I'm still in the first step, which is being able to remember your dreams. And it's probably going to take me at least probably 2 weeks or more to where I'm remembering as many dreams as I need to move on. And of course, I have started the reality check part of it, which will also take a little while to start working, but which is where you have something that reminds you during the day to do a reality check. And so I just have a watch actually that goes off every hour, and so if you do this like for a long time, then eventually you're going to start doing it in your dreams. And when you do it in your dream and you perform a reality check, the hope is that it fails. And at that point, you
how do you do a reality check?
Yeah.
I like the so there are several different ways, and different people prefer different methods. What I like to do is I hold my nose, I plug my nose with my fingers, and I try to breathe. And if I'm in a dream, I never start to feel like I need to breathe. Like I'll have my nose plugged, and it'll just feel like I can breathe through it still. But another good thing to do is try and either read something or look at a clock or something else like that, because in dreams these things are not like if you try to read something, it'll be like a bunch of jumbled up letters, or they'll be like shifting places, and like the same thing with a clock. Another thing you can do is look for patterns in your dream that would let you know that you're dreaming. And last time I did this project, I noticed that in my dreams always, if I looked at the sky, there would be planets, like not like you see them from Earth, but as if like we were orbiting these planets and they were like as far away as the moon or something. So looking up at the sky kind of is almost a reality check for me, but there's lots of different ways to do it.
So why would somebody want to learn the skill of lucid dreaming?
Well, I think we've all had the desire to control our dreams at some point, because the experience feels real to you.
So you flying, you can be Superman, you can,
Yeah, I guess that's the main.
any,
That's the
sex, anything.
That's the reason. That's the only reason.
No, one thing I've been thinking about trying is I want to go to like a different planet or something like that. Fly to another planet.
Going to Pluto.
I've always enjoyed flying dreams. I think flying in your dreams is some of the most fun you can have.
Mm-hmm. But so back to the reality check. When your reality check fails in your dream, you can't just assume that you're all of a sudden awake and in control of your dream, because at this point, you're still basically asleep, and so it's very easy to fall right back into the story of the dream, and you lose control. And so what you actually have to do once you do the reality check is you have to do stuff to make yourself conscious. And so like I'll like try and do a math puzzle. I'll try and remember what happened to me this week in the real world, and then you slowly kind of wake up, and then you can try and start doing things.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, we spend so much of our lives asleep, and then we're not awake in our dreams, and here's another potential topic is sleep and dreams. Like we don't even I don't think we fully understand what sleep and dreams are for, what purpose they serve.
There's one big discovery they found recently. It doesn't refer to dreams at all, but as for the purpose of sleep, they found that there's a bunch of these neurons that shrink by about 90%, and they allow the cerebral spinal fluid to penetrate the brain, and it washes out the free radicals that build up in your brain during the day as a result of degradation of neurotransmitters. And so actually it's
kind of like your brain's taking a shit and then flushing that all out.
Yeah, so normally when you're awake, your brain can't wash these things out. And so yeah, that's why staying up for longer than a day is like it's hard on your brain. It's like oxidative stress actually.
Okay.
So that's a biological, purpose for sleep, but it doesn't really explain why we dream.
One theory I've heard is that dreams are there to keep us asleep while we're sleeping.
Interesting. It's like it's kind of like listening to music or watching or like have the television on as you fall asleep. It's hard to just do nothing. Like you said, meditating. It's like it's hard.
And what's so weird is so we're talking about consciousness, and we're conscious during the day, and then we go to sleep, and it's like we're gone. It's like we're not there.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that's so. So that means, and I guess this is open to debate, but that must mean that there's something in the brain, like a little brain region that is responsible for consciousness, and you can turn it on and turn it off.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and like not all sleep is created equal. Like we know that. Like you can have bad sleep and you can have like the good REM sleep, right? And I'm sure you guys know this, so I'm not breaking any ground here, but dolphins and other like sea mammals, like they don't. I mean, like I guess like half their brain kind of shuts off, and they like rest that portion of their brain, and the other brain kind of puts them on autopilot, and then they alternate. So they're like always asleep and always awake, as it was told to me.
Because if dolphins went to sleep, then they would drown.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's pretty crazy.
So I wonder, could you see if the dolphins had different personalities while they were, when the left versus the right?
Yeah. Well, that's a good question. I mean, I was watching a documentary on a bunch of different like sea mammals, and they're talking about how they really think like dolphins, in a way, specifically have, this one part of their brain, I can't remember what it was called, but it's responsible for emotions, and they said it's significantly larger in comparison to humans, and they think that like they have even more diverse social networks than we do. They can remember people. They think they can remember like more people through like the different clicks they make and the different sounds, and just that like their whole life is centered on the socialness of their group, their pod. Whereas like humans are obviously naturally social, but you have people that are like hermits. You have people that like to go away and kind of not deal with a lot of people. And some people are very melancholy, and some people are very up and down. And I don't know.
Yes. So maybe we can change topics now to another one. Mirror neurons, which.
Do you want to briefly explain what mirror neurons are?
Yes. So let me have the Wikipedia page here. So mirror neurons fire both when an animal acts and when an animal observes the same action performed by another. And so that's why they're called mirror neurons, is because they seem to mirror the behavior of what that animal observes. So these neurons have been observed directly in primates.
Wait. I'm just going to slow you down here for a second.
Okay.
So let's give an example. So if I'm doing this, if I'm waving at you, you're telling me that there is a set of neurons in your brain that will imitate what I'm doing? I mean, is that the basic concept?
D-Hagen.
Daniel.
We lost him. Into the abyss.
Ooh.
Oh.
He's back.
Experiencing some technical difficulties here at 430 CTZ. we're about to get a great explanation of mirror neurons, and now, Daniel...
We lost our primary source on the subject.
Okay. I'll do a quick distraction technique.
Okay.
Now from a word from our sponsor.
Oh, I'm back.
Oh, okay. No need. No worries.
Sorry about that. Knocked my Ethernet out.
So we were talking about the mirror neurons, and I think, can we give an example for people that are not neuroscientists?
Yes, please. Sure.
So if I'm waving at you, say, so you're telling me that there is neurons in your brain that are there solely to imitate what I'm doing.
Yes, so that would be... That's right.
And why do they think these neurons exist? What's
so there's a whole
purpose?
slew of... There's a whole range of functions that possible functions that they could have. But I think that the big one is learning facilitation, and so it's sort of before we had language, we were using tools, right? And so the mirror neurons code a representation of the action, and this allows you to simulate the observed action in your own mind, and it allows you to know what it would feel like to do that. So they're calling this like associative learning, sort of. It could happen from this. And then it also explains how we're able to feel empathy. You don't have to have someone tell you, exactly how they're feeling. You just kind of have this idea of what's going on in their head, and we kind of take that for granted, but other animals, they don't have the ability to do that.
I just thought of something. What do you think, and I don't know if this has been explored or not, but do you think sociopaths and psychopaths, perhaps they are missing the mirror neurons, or they're somehow less developed?
So I haven't heard about those two specifically, but there's a lot of people who are talking about autism and mirror neuron deficiency, and I think it's possible. I think in both cases, but so they have found. So some researchers claim there's a link between mirror neuron deficiency and autism. EEG recordings from motor areas are suppressed when another person watches another person move. This suppression was less in children with autism.
So yeah, it's something.
Right, and it's why that they can't relate to other people like we can.
So it's probably like similar with a person that has Asperger's, or maybe minor Asperger's.
Yes, I believe they've actually erased that terminology, Asperger's, and because autism is such a broad spectrum disorder that I think they finally just admitted that it's probably a whole collection of different disorders that we don't quite understand yet.
Gotcha. Interesting.
But, and Ramachandran is a big advocate for mirror neurons, and he one cool thing that he says is that he thinks that mirror neurons provide a neurological basis for human self-awareness. So what he says is, this is a quote, he says, "I also speculated that these neurons can not only help simulate other people's behavior, but can be turned inward, as it were, to create second-order representations of your own earlier brain processes. This could be the neural basis of introspection and the reciprocity of self-awareness. There's obvious chicken and an egg question here as to which evolved first, but the main point is that the two co-evolved, mutually enriching each other to create the mature representation of self that characterizes modern humans. And so, yeah, as we understand what other people are feeling, we actually understand our own feelings better. And that's because the mirror neurons, they don't fire, they're not mirroring the neurons of the other person. They fire as if you were performing the action yourself. And so it's like an emulation, sort of the other person. But it would be your experience of it. And so it's like a vicarious experience, sort of. It allows you to expand, what you can experience, basically.
So something that brings to mind for me is that we know that from studying child development that, you're not just a fully formed human being from the time that you're born, and that your brain actually comes online in stages. So, there's actually a specific age that children, there's certain milestones in development that children go through, and so one of them is the ability to do perspective taking. So if you take a child, somewhere between 3 to 5, I'm not exactly sure the age, and you say, okay, you got Sally and Susie, and you say, Sally, if you were Susie, would the red ball be closer to you, or would the blue ball be closer to you? And at that point, Sally's too young to put herself in the other person's shoes. That part of her brain isn't online, so children are very egocentric, and they can't take the perspective of others. So it's like a stage that we...
explain why they're little assholes.
There's one study they mentioned that might help people to understand kind of how they're working in the brain. And so what this study did, they recorded activity of these 41 neurons in macaque monkeys that have been recognized as mirror neurons. And the monkeys watched an experimenter take an apple, and they would either bring it to their mouth, or they would grab another object and place it in a cup. So he's either taking the apple and he's eating it, or he's taking the apple and he's putting it in a cup. And so in total, 15 of these neurons fired vigorously when the monkey observed the grasp to eat motion, but registered no activity while exposed to the grasp to place condition. And then 4 other neurons did the opposite. They activated in response to the place in the cup, but not to the eating it. And so one thing that shows is that they care more about the actions that would be rewarding, or so they're more worried about whether this guy is eating food as opposed to just moving it around, because he wants to be eating the food, I guess. But let's see, and then so it was also significant that the neurons fired before the monkey observed the human model starting the second motor act, bringing the object to the mouth or placing it in a cup. So they're firing actually before the human has shown what he's going to do with it. So they're making a prediction about another's action, and they can't. So they have a sense of his intention because they're working. They're actually predicting what's going to happen.
So you know, say I'm an athlete and I play tennis. So what the implications of this is that you can actually get better. You can actually learn just by watching somebody else. So if you want to get better, you might watch pro tennis matches, and then your swing might start to imitate, Nadal or Federer or somebody.
Right, because you could try and tell somebody how to do it, but you're limited to the language, which does a very poor job at describing the actual motion or physical stuff that's going on.
That's interesting.
I saw a study that was you might fact check me on this one, but I'm pretty sure it's true. But they had people watch videos of people lifting weights, and just by watching the videos, they found that they gained muscle mass.
What?
Yep.
Get me on those videos.
Yeah.
Right?
What?
I'm getting big.
So yeah, another thing, mirror neurons, they think empathy, our feeling of empathy, and so they've done some looking into. They showed that people who are more empathetic, according to self-report questionnaires, have stronger activations in the mirror neuron system.
Cool.
Yeah.
And that'd be a very physiological way to determine, why some people are maybe really good listeners or really good at helping people.
And also how when you, for instance, watch somebody get kicked in the balls, you have this sympathetic pain.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wonder if there's a way to temporarily disable that. Like,
probably magnetic stimulation of that brain area.
I mean, like for soldiers or somebody, or like, maybe police officers.
What part of the brain are these neurons firing up from?
Yes, that's a good question. Let me find that here.
I'm gonna guess it's the motor cortex.
Okay. Okay, I think they actually show up in some different areas of the brain, but the inferior frontal cortex and superior parietal lobe are active when the person performs an action, and also when the person sees another individual performing the action.
I bet that
large areas, yeah.
This has to play a huge role in like humans being what humans are.
Yeah. Right.
Well,
empathy is the basis, for cooperation. Probably, I would say. If you're Sally, right, and you can't put yourself in another person's shoes, you can't even begin to think about helping them. All you're concerned with is helping yourself, which would maybe lead to like these behaviors like we see. I saw a post on Reddit the other day where in like the hippo world, I guess if you're like born a male, you have to be hidden by your mother for like the first, like a long time. I want to say like the first 6 to 8 weeks until you get big enough to run away, because all the other males will just try to kill you. They don't understand. Well, the reason they do it, is to secure their females and all the other kind of stuff, but they don't understand. Oh, well, if we had way more hippos and we could cooperate, maybe we wouldn't.
Right. Well, so what about like herd animals? I think that I don't think that they actually really know. They actually really understand that they're performing the kind of cooperations that they are. Probably they just do it. They're doing whatever feels safe to them.
Right.
And so I think that makes for cooperation. But
have they observed any mirror neurons in like canines or something like that?
So yeah, as far as
dogs.
So I think it says such neurons have been directly observed in primate species. Birds have been shown to have imitative resonance behaviors, and neurological evidence suggests the presence of some form of mirroring system. But
Crows are really smart.
Crows are smart. They can make tools, right? Yeah.
I think they're some of the only other animals that actually do make tools. So it's mainly just primates, I guess, that have these neurons.
That's my understanding, yeah. And that humans have a lot more of them than most primates, and then some humans have a decent amount more of them than other humans do. And so I think like your understanding of other people, I mean, that can be greatly enhanced if you choose to focus on that, and if you if like your brain can become sensitive to that, I think. So, and you use a lot of different things to create that, to make that judgment, and so it's. I mean, we're thinking about things that other people probably, are like thinking about. We can understand what kind of mood they're in, and that comes just from our past sort of experiences of our own experience. Because even with the mirror neurons, you can feel something that would be a combination of things that you have done in the past, but you can't actually have a new experience, really. It might be semi-new to you, but it would be constructed from things that you've experienced in the past.
Yeah, makes sense. Just to answer my own question, other animals, monkeys, probably apes, and possibly elephants, dolphins, and dogs have been observed to have rudimentary mirror neurons. However, because primates, like humans, have a huge working memory, they figure they can carry out far more sophisticated imitations. That was in the New York Times in 2006. A while ago. But
jeez. Yeah, so they think they've detected mirror neuron systems before 12 months of age in humans, and I think that helps babies learn.
That's awesome.
Anything else on the mirror neurons, guys?
I don't think I have too much.
Next topic.
Ken or John, has this sparked any topics that you would like to bring up?
John, do you have one?
I mean, one that I'm particularly interested in is what you were talking about, Duncan, about like the different stages of development in children. The Piaget stuff.
For those who don't know, John is a science teacher, so he gets to see humans whose brains are not fully online yet every day.
That's to put it kindly. Yes.
So,
John, like that kids do.
Yeah. Go ahead, Daniel.
There's this study that my dad keeps telling me about. I wonder if you've heard of it. I guess they take preschoolers and they they tell them, so you can have like 2 pieces of candy right now, or if you wait until the end of the day and you don't have any candy, you can get 5 pieces at the end of the day. And so not very many kids really want to wait till the end of the day, but some of them realize that they'll get more candy out of it. And apparently the kids who were able to wait were like far more successful later on in life.
Yeah, I've heard of that one.
Mm.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Course, how do you define success? And I think probably the main thing is just money. But it makes sense, I guess.
I mean, that's a pretty good indicator.
Yeah, especially the age that I teach 10th graders, it's like really where they're moving past biology, stuff that they're used to seeing, to chemistry where there's a lot more abstract concepts, and I find a lot of students struggle with that, and need a lot of things to. There's some kids that just get it, and others that it's really, really difficult. So,
I mean, it's a whole system that is totally out of your reach. You know, you can't like reach out and grab an atom and understand, oh, it has this structure, or you know. So yeah, I could see that. It's hard to. Why would you care about something that you can't even see? You know.
Right. Like things like a mole, where you have to use scientific notation, like all those zeros that it's hard to visualize how big those numbers actually are. So.
I read a little blurb about it's like adolescent. I think the term they were using was adolescent pseudo-mature behavior. So basically, they followed up on, the kids who are popular in high school. Where are they later in life? And they actually found that they were much worse off. And so the explanation for this was, they called it adolescent pseudo-mature behavior. So it's like these kids were so desperate to prove that they were mature that they started drinking and having sex and all that to prove that they were mature way before they were like actually ready for it, and then it just kind of like screws them up later on.
Well, yeah, I mean, how many people like have a baby without like meaning to?
Well,
a lot.
I'm aware of some.
I mean that it's a sad situation. I mean, because they want good things for the baby, but they have to kind of admit whether they're ready or not. And I think most people just learn the first time that they have a baby how to like take care of one. And it's a very complicated thing, how to explain things to a child, and
it would kind of derail your life for a good number of years.
Yeah,
if you're not ready for it.
For sure.
And your money. I think it costs, from raising a kid from 0 to 18, it costs like $300K.
Oh my goodness.
Bro, I'd say more than that. I mean, are we talking college here too?
I don't think it's including college, but.
Well, humans have the longest period of um, being babies, and we're helpless for longer than other species babies are. Um, so it's even more important for humans to take care of their kids.
Well, we can keep going, or we might want to call it. I think, what time? Does anyone remember what time we started this at?
I think
Probably
we
like
started at 5:30.
5:30.
4:30
So
Mountain Time.
keep it at about an hour, I'd say.
That sounds good.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, I will see you next week at 4:30 CTZ. So,
Okay, are we having any guests next time?
well, hopefully we can get Nitin on here,
Okay, good.
and so that'll be a guess.
Guest speaker.
John, Ken, are you guys 4:30? Does that work for you?
Sounds good.
Ken, just give me a thumbs up. All right. Okay. All right, guys. Well, I'm gonna call it. So it's been an absolute blast talking to you guys, and I'll see you next week.
Alrighty.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.